It is my pleasure to introduce today's presenter, Paul LaSalle. With over 40 years of experience, Paul is an experienced classroom trainer who brings an understanding and appreciation of business needs and objectives into the classroom. Working through numerous organizations, Paul has served as a systems analyst, network architect, project manager, management consultant, and business analyst. He is also co-author of the TCP IP Bible. So Paul, with all that, it's yours.
Thanks, Brent. Welcome, everybody. We're going to take a look at Business Analysis Essentials. This material is drawn from our course number 2919, and this is pretty much the roadmap for that course right there. It takes you through a module on Introduction to Business Analysis, on project definition and planning, on requirements elicitation, on requirements analysis, really what comes down to modeling. And that's where we are in my course right now with the group that I left 5 minutes ago. So we're kind of right in the middle of this course. This afternoon, we're going to start looking at requirements documentation management, business requirements documentation, and solution requirement specifications. Then we'll look at the BA's involvement in design and test, as well as in testing, and a recap. We're today going to focus on the introduction to business analysis. We're just going to give you a little bit of a taste of what that course is all about. So we're going to try to answer some of these questions for you. And we'll also lay it out this way. So we're trying to define business analysis and explain why it's essential for identifying business needs and defining solutions that work the way the customer expected them to. We want to summarize, if we can, what BA does, what a BA does, what a business analyst does, if you will, and identify the different job titles that a BA may have. We're going to look at the core skills that a BA has. And we're going to differentiate between the two worldwide organizations addressing the practice of business analysis in the form of the International Institute for Business Analysis and the Project Management Institute. So again, we're going to cover off this very first bit of material here. We're going to answer the question of what is business analysis? Well, according to the business analysis body of knowledge, which is the definitive document from the International Institute for Business Analysis, it is the practice of enabling change in an organization by defining the needs and recommending solutions that deliver value to stakeholders. So the BA is essentially an agent of change, if you will. So this is the application of knowledge, skills, and tools and techniques to determine problems and identify business needs. So we're talking about business problems here. Our customer satisfaction levels have dropped a little bit, this kind of thing. We're not talking about technical issues so much as we're talking about business issues. We want to identify and recommend viable solutions for meeting those business needs, and we'll do so by eliciting, documenting, and managing stakeholder requirements in order to meet our business and our project objectives. We also want to facilitate the implementation, the successful implementation of the product, service, or end result of the program or project. Those of you that have studied project management know that a program is a group of related projects. This, depending on where you are in the world and which project management framework you work with, may also be called portfolio management. They're essentially the same thing. Okay, why business analysis? Why does it matter? In 2014, some time ago, the Project Management Institute reported that 37% of organizations reported inaccurate requirements as a primary cause of project failure. The project failed because, oh, I didn't know we needed that. We missed that requirement. Further to that, the second leading cause of project failure is we didn't write it down. We have poor requirements management practices. For years, I've been telling folks that IT isn't really that good at documentation, hoping that someone would argue, but nobody argues. It's true. We don't do that great a job of writing things down. Problem is that we have a greenfield project followed by many maintenance and enhancement projects, each of which depends on the documentation left behind by the previous. And so if that documentation isn't done properly, then it's going to cost us more time, money, and effort each time we try to enhance what we've got. So these are two big leading causes of project failure that account for, well, I mean, a lot of project failures. So this is what business analysis does. It helps us identify all the requirements, and manage the documentation and communication of those requirements. So effective business analysis is essential for defining solutions that deliver value to an organization. Okay, two different professional organizations that focus on business analysis. Traditionally, the International Institute of Business Analysis, whose website you can get to at IIBA.org, was founded in 2003 by BAs for BAs. They've released version 3 of their body of knowledge in 2015. And as a side issue, when you sign up for courses from Global Knowledge on Business Analysis, you have, as part of your deliverable, a copy of that business analysis body of knowledge that shows up in your MyGK portal. So all of our students have that information in there. The Project Management Institute was founded back in 1969, which is kind of late for project management, to be honest with you. And they were traditionally focused on project and program management. Again, a project, something that needs to get done on time, on budget, according to plan, and a program, a group of related projects, or sometimes called a portfolio. They've put more emphasis on business analysis in recent years. Well, it's a pretty simple equation. Your project fails because you've got the requirements wrong, so let's go figure out how to get the requirements right, and they got into the business of business analysis because of that. Each of these organizations have their own certifications. In the IIBA certification path for CBAP and CCBA certification, and even the ECBA certifications, the new ones, there are a number of knowledge areas. These are simply categories that you need to know about. This material is drawn for the CBAP exam, so the first knowledge area is business analysis, planning, and monitoring. These are the tasks that the BA needs to perform to organize and coordinate the analysis work. Quite often, the BA is beholden to a project manager who's asking them the question of, how long is it going to take you to figure out what the requirements are and then build me a requirements package? Especially in a waterfall project, you'll see that type of thing go on where everything's done up front. In agile type projects, maybe not as much emphasis on upfront documentation, but still the planning part needs to happen maybe as a result of that sprint. We talk about strategy analysis. This is your long-term plan. That's what a strategy is. So identifying business needs and aligning a proposed solution with organizational strategies is also part of what the IIBA speaks to. There's a knowledge area for requirements analysis and design definition. So this is where we structure and organize the requirements and identifying solution options that will meet our business need. There could be more than one. Could be more than one solution. So we look at elicitation and collaboration. Okay, so elicitation is a fancy word for gathering up information. There's some skill involved in this. So this is where we obtain requirements information from various sources, and we work with stakeholders throughout our initiative. And we work with them with a common goal in mind, hence the term collaboration as opposed to cooperation. If I'm cooperating with you, that means I'm going to get out of the way while you push your elephant up the hill. But if I'm collaborating, I'm being behind there with you, helping you push that same elephant up the hill. We share that common goal. BAs are all about collaboration. And of course, we're going to end up evaluating solutions. It's quite possible through an initiative, through a program, for project or program, you may end up with multiple possible solutions. Since the business analyst is the keeper of the requirements, we understand the requirements better than anybody else because we discovered them and we documented them. Well, then we're in the perfect position to assess the performance of a solution and make recommendations on how to optimize its performance. These are the areas that you'll be tested on in the IIBA knowledge areas. Finally, looking at the idea of requirements lifecycle management, where we manage and maintain the requirements information throughout the project and throughout the product life cycles. And this is an interesting choice of words here. The project is a set of activities that get done on time, on budget, according to plan. The product is cradle to grave of that initiative. So you may end up with many, many, many projects inside of that product life cycle. When we talk about the IIBA knowledge areas, this is what you would be tested on from this certification body, and they're obviously all interrelated. If we look at the core concepts, this is base level information for business analysts. We talk about the core concepts, we start off with the idea of a change. It's an act of transformation in response to a need. BAs need to understand the idea of change, and often BAs are agents of change in the form that they're helping to push a change to an organization. If we look at a solution, well, this is the specific ways of satisfying one or more needs inside of a context. All right, context, what is that? Well, the circumstances that are influenced or influenced by and provide understanding of the change. Everything's relative, so context matters. If we look at value, it's the worth, importance, or usefulness of something in a stakeholder, to a stakeholder within a context. Each of us gets to value differently. Some of us value high quality, some value low cost. Some of us look at a balance in between. The thing about value is that it's ethereal. It's wispy. You can't really get your hand on it. And also that value changes over time. Just because you have something that's valuable right now doesn't mean it'll always be valuable. It's all relative. And we look at the idea of stakeholders. These are groups or individuals who have a relationship with the change or the need of the solution of the project. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're proponents of your project. You could have negative stakeholders as well. They don't want your project to succeed. In addition to that, we have needs. This is the problem or opportunity to be addressed. Typically, needs are expressed at the business level. We have a business need to increase on-time deliveries to 99% over the next 6 months. These business needs are normally expressed in what we call SMART format: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound formats. So it's not just a pie in the sky, we want to be the best IT department ever kind of need. It's more definable than that. These are the IIBA core concepts. The Project Management Institute, instead of using knowledge areas, uses domains. 5 different domains, as noted in green. So needs assessment, analyzing a current business problem or opportunity. BA planning, so ensuring that the most effective business analysis approach is selected. A requirements elicitation analysis, similar to what we just talked about, gathering or eliciting information, analyzing and documenting and creating a set of requirements. Traceability and monitoring, so ensuring that requirements are approved and managed throughout the project lifecycle. So what does that mean? Well, it means that maybe if we are in a situation where our test fails, we have to figure out which stakeholder is not going to be happy about this. Who do I talk to? Well, traceability allows us to go back from the test all the way back to solution scope. This is referred to as upstream traceability. Or the other way around, maybe our project scope has changed. Which test do we no longer need, or which test do we have to add in that we don't have there now? Well, then we're talking about downstream traceability, tracing from scope down to through design and into test. The business analyst is often the keeper of traceability, and that's why it shows up here in the PMI domain, and in fact, in knowledge areas as well. And our solution evaluation, well, that's the same exactly we talked about in the IIBA side. Validating a solution is about to be or has already been implemented. So if we compare the two of these, you can see that they're quite similar. We talked about the idea of solution evaluation just a second ago. They're the exact same. Business analysis planning and monitoring matches up to business analysis planning. Strategy analysis and needs assessment. Requirements analysis and design definition, as well as elicitation and collaboration, matches up to requirements elicitation analysis. And requirements lifecycle management and traceability and monitoring match up as well. So it gives you an idea how these two work in terms of comparison. All right, what's the role of the BA? Well, there can be many roles that a BA may perform. Used to be, back in the day, a business analysis body of knowledge version 2, not the 3 that we have here, but the 2. It used to be that the role of the BA was a person year. It was a job title. You were a full-time business analyst, and that's all I do. I'm a BA. But that's not true anymore. With the advent of agile and DevOps and all the different modern software development lifecycle tools and techniques that we're working with these days, you may find that part of your Scrum team is a person who plays the role of BA for this particular phase of that project. We may have, I don't know, 8 or 10 Scrum teams out there doing requirements analysis on their particular sprint at the same time, and each of them might have a BA in there. So the role of the BA now becomes a hat you wear as opposed to a position that you hold permanent full-time. But there are a number of different tasks and techniques that we use to handle things like policies or operations or whatever structure may be in talking to all these different stakeholders. So the work that we do will be discovering and synthesizing and analyzing information, finding out what the needs are from these stakeholders, trying to understand the enterprise in terms of its problem and goals, and analyzing needs and solutions, devising strategies, driving change, and facilitating stakeholder collaboration. So who performs the BA function? Well, you may possess one of these titles or many of these titles, but it could be a business systems analyst, or it could be a systems analyst. Well, what's the difference? A systems analyst has intimate knowledge of a particular technology where a business systems analyst may not. Or a data analyst, or an enterprise analyst, or a business architect. Could be a business consultant, could be a process analyst, or it could be a product owner. Each one of these folks may end up performing the BA function. BAs need to be flexible. They need to be able to adapt their activities for different types of projects, for different types of environments. Reasons why the BA would adapt their activities? Well, it could be because this project is less or more complex than the previous one, or technologically more complex or simple than the previous one. Or it could have to do with project size. Or it could have to do with this is a waterfall project versus an agile project. It could be our organizational standards. It could be stakeholder needs. It could be enterprise architectures. It could be geographical and cultural considerations. Where are you in the globe compared to where we are right now? I don't know about you guys, but I'm in Canada. Welcome to Canada. We put our beer in the fridge to keep it warm. Could be your project timelines as well. So if we look at the role of the BA in waterfall and agile projects, it may be handled differently, but it's essentially the same thing. The BA uses the same core skills and performs the same activities in both environments. However, there are differences in the order in which those activities are performed and the approaches to planning and documentation. In a waterfall project, we do everything just one time and one time only. Let me give you 2 seconds on this. I'm just going to break with my slide deck and show you a waterfall project. We do our discovery, we do our planning, we do our build, we do a review, and we're done. That's it. We do each one completely once. In an agile project, we do a little bit of each of these multiple times over. So when we talk about the idea of waterfall versus agile projects, waterfall projects by their very nature are more linear. They have an increased focus on upfront documentation and upfront planning because you only get one try to do this. You got to get it right. So your role definition is likely going to be clear and more consistent. Where in an agile type project, you may have multiple activities going on simultaneously. The documentation becomes lighter, but it doesn't go away. Yeah, there's a difference between light documentation and no documentation. No documentation is chaos. That's different than agile. The thing about agile projects is that we don't do all of our documentation up front. We do it in pieces as the sprints go by. We may end up in the exact same place by the time the project's done. It's just that we don't do it all up front. We do just-in-time planning, and there's likely going to be a greater variation in role between the waterfall and agile BA. All right, so what are the core skills of a BA? Well, here they are. Analytical thinking and problem solving. Problems are to be, well, for successful BAs to have an easy time, but they need to think creatively and drive decisions and grasp and convey concepts and see implications across systems. So solving problems has to be a puzzle, not really an issue. Adaptability and trustworthiness are core skills for a BA as well. The willingness to try different approaches to get the work done, exhibiting open, reliable, transparent behavior. In terms of general business knowledge over time, if you're working in the same organization, one would hope that you acquire knowledge about that organization, your industry, and your enterprises in general. Good communication skills are key to business analysts. Because what you do as a BA is what you're doing right now. You sit and you listen for most of the day. So the knowledge of how to receive and distribute information in written and verbal forms with the goal of facilitating the creation of the right solution is the key skill in terms of communication. Leadership and collaboration skills, facilitating the interactions between stakeholders, getting them in the same room, getting agreement, team building, conflict resolution, team guidance. These are all part of what the BA does. So an outgoing personality doesn't hurt. if you're a BA. Also, familiarity with key tools and technologies. It could be something as simple as Excel and Visio, or it could be some massive case computer-aided system engineering tool. So lots of different tools that you need to be able to use. And depending on what work you're doing and where you're doing it, you may find that you use different tools. All right, when we talk about BA certifications, my first recommendation to you is very simple. Go to IIBA.org, go to PMI.org, because as much as we try to keep courseware up to date at global knowledge, certifications are always a changing landscape. So start here. Yes, there are CBAP certifications. Yes, there are CCBA certifications, but I'm pretty sure that IIBA also has an ECBA certification as well. And I'm not sure about Project Management Institute. They may have more than this certification as well. So these things are changing over time. I've got numerous certifications, and I always start by checking with the website of the organization who's handling the certification. I would suggest you would do that too. All right, last little bit, if we look at this, we should ask you, are there any questions? Back to you, Brent. Did you want to ask me some questions?
Absolutely. Sorry. Here's a pro tip. Always unmute yourself if you want to talk.
Yes.
Got me.
I've done that so many times.
Before we dive into these questions here, just a friendly reminder to everyone, you will receive a recording of this presentation in about a week. We've had that come up a few times in the chat. So Paul, I'm gonna jump in right here at the top. Suggestion, solutions to problems, meaning. What will that be to a level of which programming language, etc.? I'm not sure if I understand that completely. I hope you do.
Okay, so I think what we're talking about here is the life cycle of a BA. So let's start with the idea of a business problem. The business problem would be something like a customer observation or opinion. For instance, customer satisfaction has dropped. And so that's at the business level. How do we get that to a programming language level? Well, typically what we do is we gather requirements. Those requirements are expressed in a business requirement document, which then gets into the solution part of things through what's called a solution requirement specification. And that may prompt your developers to create communication diagrams and all the other elements, again, entity relationship diagrams, to model a system that behaves the way the business needs it to. So there's a lot of room to go from what the BA starts with to what your programmers are going to use. There are different techniques that might lend themselves easily to transference from BA to programmers. For instance, use case analysis. One of the things we talk about, and indeed we have a course on that at Global Knowledge, course 2712. Use cases are used in gathering requirements as a modeling technique, but they can also be used in testing. So use cases spawn test cases. Developers can use those to check to make sure that we've got all the different possibilities working. So again, as far as different platforms are concerned, totally up to your environment how you go about doing that. The only tool that I would say distinguishes between platforms greatly is whether you're using a mainframe and you're still using structured analysis, as opposed to modern day IT systems that are using object-oriented analysis. That would lead you to different platforms.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. So the next question here, it looks like there are multiple people asking this, or different flavors of this question. So what is the main difference between business analysis and data science or data analysis?
Oh, okay. Totally different fields altogether. Okay, so business analysis is all about requirements. So if we look at, if we boil down things as generalized as possible, business is about why, IT is about how. Data analytics and data analysis fits into the how. How do we draw trends from our data? If we compare that to business analysis as a field, it doesn't answer how, it doesn't answer why, it answers what. What are the requirements?
Gotcha. Okay. How do you start IIBA certifications without prior work experience? I'm asking for those considering a career move to being a BA.
Yes, you start with the ECBA certification. And that's one of the big things that's a jumping post for the CCBA or the CBAP certification. They require 6 months prior work experience. They require references from your bosses, so on and so forth. So the ECB certification is a little bit easier, a little bit later on those.
Perfect. Okay. What's the best way to prepare for a certification exam?
Oh, you want to
You know
get
what I would
yourself.
say.
Yeah, you want to get yourself one of the global knowledge boot camps. I'm sorry, I'm stealing your thunder there, Brent.
No, you're good.
Right.
You're good.
But let me just see if I can pull up my handy dandy little list here, and I'll actually give you the number on it as well. Okay. So the boot camp for CBAP CCBA is $24.89. That number you can plug into Global Knowledge's website. And the PMI boot camp is 2032. I'll have your job yet, Brent.
You can have it.
No, sir. No, sir. Not a million years. All right.
All right. Next, yeah, is PMI more popular than IIBA in Canada? Which one is more valuable for a certification?
To be honest with you, before joining the Global Knowledge, I had never heard of Project Management Institute, and I've been teaching BA for a long time. Now, this is just my opinion and not that of the Global Knowledge Organization, but I think that IIBA has a more recognized role in the industry at this point in time. That may be changing quickly.
Perfect. I just saw another question come through the chat. Folks, if you would put your questions in the Q&A, that makes it a lot easier for Paul and I to get to them. And also everyone can see your questions because they're fantastic and I want everyone to get them answered. So I'm going to read this one because it just popped up. But someone asked about the salary range for a BA.
They pay us for this? What do you mean?
You're not doing it for the love of the game?
I didn't know they paid us for this at all. I have no idea what the numbers are. Sorry,
Perfect.
I can't help you with that one.
No worries. All right. What is the one skill that you feel a good, successful analyst needs to have and hone?
Oh, the skill. Well, first it's communication skills. You got to be a really good communicator. And the best tool that a BA can have is a good night's sleep, because you're going to do a lot of listening as a BA.
Fantastic. We got a question coming in from my man Mo. He's a good dude. Do you have to be PMP certified prior to getting certified in PMP, PBA, and are the exams similar?
No, you don't have to. First part of the question, no, you don't have to be certified as a PMP to get the PMI PBA certification, but there are some, depending on which certificate levels you go for, you may find that there are some courses that do speak about project management in the PMI PBA stream.
Are the exams similar?
Don't know.
Okay, very good. Has business analysis and how BA are completing analysis changed with COVID-19? That's a good question.
Wow. Yeah, I'm clearly there's going to be a lot of more virtual communication. I think the core skills are still there. And when we talk about elicitation, we talk about, gathering requirements, all that sort of stuff. It could be done in person or it could be done virtually. We're really lucky in this day and age, and I mean it's kind of odd to say that in light of COVID-19, but we're really lucky because we have strong virtual communication. And had we not had that, had COVID happened 5 or 6 years ago, then business in general would really be struggling because the internet as a backbone wasn't as solid then as it is now. So I don't think that the BA role has to change as much. I can envision situations where a virtual technology can account for a lot of things that I would normally do as BA. Interviews, group sessions, structured walkthroughs, or presentations to get sign off, all those kinds of things can happen using virtualing tools. So I don't think there's had to be a huge change for COVID, but it's certainly thought-provoking. Good question.
Perfect. So we have 3 questions left. Let's see if we can knock these out. I want to respect everyone's time here. So first one, would SQA, software quality assurance background and certification, provide any benefit through a BA path? Are there any opportunities to advance through the certification path as an example?
Definitely. There's certainly a software quality assurance component in most line of business applications. And part of the curriculum for your certification includes a software testing component, possibly.
Perfect. So can PMs be used to replace BAs?
in the smallest project, the PM could play the BA role, but maybe not well, because they're possibly at cross purposes. The BA needs to gather up the requirements, and that may take more time. And the project manager's goal is to get the project done on time, on budget. And so if you put them in the same person, you may find that contention's in there. I wouldn't want to hold that role. It's possible, but I don't want to do that.
Gotcha. All right, so we have time for one more here, and I see we have a lot of questions still coming in. I would really recommend reaching out to our social media team. That's like Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. Let's make those folks earn their paychecks. They can put you in contact with anyone to answer these questions. So we'll get one last one here, Paul, then we'll set you free. So can you recommended tools for system process mapping in a virtual environment? And then the same question for prototyping tools.
System process mapping in a virtual environment. The only thing I can think of right there would be to look at some of the more modern case tools. And I hesitate to give you names because they would only be from personal experience. I gave up my mantle of being a Microsoft certified trainer a couple of years ago. And as a result, I don't have free Visio anymore. So I had to do a little research project, and I came up using a website called draw.io, which is a very useful website if you want to do business drawings. I don't know that'll do what you want. And another tool that I found that is huge is Visual Paradigm. I've got Visual Paradigm installed on the computer you're looking at right now. It's a beast, and it's got a ton of stuff in there, and there are many different levels of it. It's a software as a service kind of tool, so you pay for it. But these tools may get you there, but that is just a guess. I don't know that for sure.
Perfect. Well, appreciate it for sure, Paul. All right, so we are going to wrap things up here. Thank you again, Paul. I hope everyone has enjoyed today's webinar. If you'd like to learn more about this topic, we recommend a Business Analysis Essentials course that you see on your screen. And as an attendee of today's webinar, we want to make it easy for you to take the next step. So you can use either one of these discount codes to receive 25% off your next Global Knowledge course, Webinar 25 in the US, CA Webinar 25 in the Great White North, Canada. And so finally, be sure to continue to visit Global Knowledge's website to access free resources like technical articles, white papers, and fantastic webinars like this. Thanks again, Paul. Happy hand washing to everyone out there. Stay safe and have a great rest of your day. Thank you, everyone.
You too, Brent. Thanks, everybody.